Welcome to the most important week of the year for the podcast industry. Welcome to Podcast Movement 2025.
I'm Bryan, Barletta, president of Podcast Movement and Sounds Profitable, and I'm really excited for this panel today. It's Audio versus the World, Innovate or Die. Sensational panel, clearly got everybody's attention here, and I appreciate that, because the goal with all of this is to talk about, even though this is Podcast Movement, it's to talk about the opportunities in audio that go further, especially for advertisers, especially for the people that are representing inventory, to take advantage of people's attention everywhere. So I've introduced myself. I'm going to pass it down the line for everybody to introduce themselves as well.
Thank you, Bryan. My name is Bryan Conlan. I'm the president of DAX US. We're a digital audio streaming network representing streaming audio, podcast, and gaming inventory. So looking forward to the panel today.
Hi, I'm Elad Stern, a co-founder and president of Odeeo, the leading in-game audio advertising platforms, allowing buyers, advertisers, podcasters to promote themselves in the biggest entertainment channel out there, mobile gaming.
Look at, and we got to get the selfie in on time.
You have to have the selfie. It's,
if you have any questions, just think of them during the panel, and we're going to try and save time for questions as well. But if not, we're going to hang around afterwards to talk to all of you. We really do appreciate you choosing to spend time with us today on this. Let's dig in. Both of you interact with the greater ad buying landscape in areas beyond podcasting. How is audio perceived, both the inventory and ad effectiveness, by the brands and agencies not currently buying in podcasting today?
I would say from the DAX standpoint, they're looking at audio as their reach and efficiency play as a whole, right? So I think the challenge we've had as an industry for many years was measuring the effectiveness of audio for their campaigns, because other mediums have attribution that can actually tie back to performance. But with partners like Claritas and Podscribe entering the space, we're now able to put audio on a level playing field to show the true ROI, and it actually does drive great return on investment for a lot of advertisers that tap into the industry, right? So for us, we really feel like people really look at it as that reach play and efficiency, but there's a whole lot more to the audio landscape, and it's really about us educating the market. I think we talk about innovation as the topic for today, and I think one of the hot buttons I've had over the last few years is we talk about audio as 30% of people's days from a consumption standpoint, and it's 4% of the ad marketplace, right? That number has not changed, and the only way it's going to change is by continuing to evolve our product offering and innovating across all different partners like Odeeo coming into the space, to just get creative to unlock more doors from the dollars from the social budgets or CTV and try and prove out that it's effective. So
my point of view, like what I hear in the market, I'm coming from the digital market like 15 years. Before that, in the mobile monetization with the biggest games in the world. And when we started Odeeo in 2021, we entered the digital audio landscape. It's less than a 10 billion market. And if you look to the right and left, you see like 40 and 50 billion market in video and CTVs, which growing dramatically. And the question we had to ourselves is why? And when we go to the agencies and to the platforms, we found out a very interesting industry was want to grow, but not necessarily know how technology-wise. And then in the last 5 years, the emerging of transparency, measurements, new channels for brands to promote themselves. It's music, podcast, radio streaming, retail media recently. These are the things that will make digital audio a $50 billion industry. So we still, like you said, in the education phase. We're all going out there pitching about why audio. KPI says it all. We're there. We just need to make more and more people talk about audio advertising, bring the use cases. And with the rise of AI, when less people gonna search in Google, channels like Odeeo will get and shine higher. Because buyers will look for the place when it's not controlled by AI.
And I like the angle that both of you guys are coming on here. It's really interesting that you say reach, Bryan, because I feel like the big message over this year, we've spent the last several years talking about programmatic, talking about reach, right? The ability to get as many people as possible, one or two touch points on them, frequency capping and all that. And I think we nailed it in podcasting. Like, I think the technology has absolutely set out to do and done what it set out to do. And then the mindset changed. And all the advertisers today are talking about depth. They're talking about how deep they can go with a specific show or a creator, because they're like, yeah, you can do reach, we got that, we do the reach with you, and now depth. And it's funny because we spent years hearing from these people saying, well, you don't have reach yet. And then the second we did, they don't give us credit for it and they move on to the next thing.
Well, I think it's interesting you say that too, because from my standpoint, the creator economy is here, right? So that's been the biggest shift in the marketplace. And the challenge we run into as an audio community is video has been a big part of this depth that you allude to, right? Is people want the video extensions, they want the live events, they want the merch. All this stuff is helping brands create a bigger holistic partnership, but how do we grow the audio budget specifically is a way we have to combat as an industry, because, again, I agree with you. I think the advancements in programmatic, the measurement and technology has solved for the reach, and I think we need to figure out how do we continue to grow depth with these brands that are podcast-specific brands and shows to grow that audience on the audio landscape and not just outside of audio.
And it's the kick I've always given to the podcast industry is that I love when we walk into a room and we're just like, let me tell you about the power of audio. And then they pull up a PowerPoint presentation. Because, like, here's the truth. If I wanted to play a trailer for all of you guys right now into the microphone and stare longingly into your eyes for 60 seconds as we listen to it, it's awkward. Right? But if we send something visual, if we share something like that, if it's a game where my eyes are paying attention to something and there's something animated, something moving, something interactive, if it's video, if it's social, all of those things, those are catching the attention of the buyers, of the consumers. They're not going as deep with it on length, right? Consumption rates on video are far lower than, or completion rates rather, than audio, right? Like longer hour-long videos are like a third as much consumed as video than they are audio.
I will take one line from a partner of ours in the UK. He says, you don't end your day with saying, oh, I had too much time with audio consumption today, right? You typically run out of hours saying, I want to listen to more podcasts, I want to consume more audio content. You're tired of social media, all the time that you're wasting throughout the day. So to your point, like, we just have to figure out how to strategically continue to evolve that in terms of, like, we have people that are wanting to consume audio throughout their journey of the day, and like they want more of it. So we just have to be strategic about how we approach it.
So I want to touch this point. So audio is the best companion for everything. You drive, you run, you go, you walk to work, you're in the bus, and now what we brought in, when you play games. Like, why not? You can do everything when you listen and consume the audio ad. And I think audio is entering the area of transparency. And this is super important, you have to understand. If you look to the other digital channels, they made it so big because buyers could see exactly what they're getting, what ROI, and they can really measure it. And now we're entering this area with the Spotify exchange opening up, more programmatic audio coming in, players like companies like ourselves, which coming for, let's say, a more advanced environment that is fully transparent, are bringing in skills and technology that allow buyers, first of all, to trust the audio channel, and we prove them performance is there every step of the way. So I believe audio is just starting. A lot of people working in audio for many years, but for me, we're entering to a new channel. Like, the digital audio is going to explode, 100%.
I'm with you on that. I mean, consumption, as Bryan said, is high, and it continues to be high. We're even, we release research, and somebody pointed out the difference between have ever listened to a podcast and listen, I think, monthly or weekly, and the numbers aren't increasing as much as we'd like to see, but they're there. There are more and more people who are coming across a podcast and sticking to the medium, and I think that that's really important on it. And there's so much opportunity there. So I think that the audience is there, and we're all advocating for that, for whatever aspect of your show. I think we've nailed that on the audience. We're continuing to be in different spaces, but the main point of this is to kind of share some insights on how do we get in front of the people who fund this, the advertisers and the brands and everyone there, when they say, I love podcasts, but I don't have an audio budget.
Yeah, I know that one.
But that's what's exciting here, right? Because Odeeo, and the reason why I asked Odeeo to be on this panel and Dax to be on this panel, and I want them to talk about it a little bit more here, is they represent more than just the podcast channel. And so Odeeo is in-app, audio, and it's really cool. There's a demo on their site and everything there. I don't want to ask you guys to watch us do an app demo there, but it's one of those things where I've grilled it and I've asked a lot of questions and it's engaged. And Dax, can you talk about the depth of what Dax has because Dax buys into Odeeo?
Of course.
Yeah, so I mean, we built a network of streaming audio publishers, podcast supply partners, in-game audio partners like Odeeo, and now we've done audio articles and we've tried these emerging channels. So we're constantly trying to innovate and provide new opportunities for people to test and learn in audio. I'm a big proponent of that. I think that's one thing that we talk about at DAX is like if they don't have an audio budget, it's education as we talked about before and the value that audio brings to their marketing mix. And I think that's something that we as a whole as an industry need to work collectively on is how do we do studies across competitors to kind of bring light to the value that streaming audio and podcasting and gaming does to these larger media, mixed media models, right? I think SiriusXM has probably been on the forefront of that recently, doing the partnership there to get audio a better seat at the table, because for many years, we just get pushed to the side, to be honest. Like, DAX is going to these agencies and saying, how did this campaign perform? And they go, well, audio was the worst performer. And it's not accurate. I just don't think it's not reality. We know it's not from the studies that we do, but I think just the legacy studies put us in a position to lose, not a position to win. So for us, it's about curating the right audience, making sure we're delivering results for our clients. But again, I think it's more of a holistic approach. And
I will elaborate on that. So we're talking about additional channels, podcasts, streaming radio, music. Let's talk TV. The same people watching TV, same people watching videos, listening to podcasts, playing mobile games. It's the same audience. And like you said, the conversation about audio budget is a must be on the table on every conversation we're entering. And I must say, in the last 3 years, this is the reality. Like, we have the spot. They let us talk about them. In the beginning, they were like, we're not sure. Let's talk in a year or two. But now, for us specifically, gaming becoming a channel, like a real marketplace, because they understand the added value we're bringing in. But I think if we really want to grow this industry, the key is a lot on the creators here. And why I'm saying that, coming from the gaming space, let's talk about mobile developers. They're creators as well. And their business is the game. And the way they do it, they have a very clear, focused playbook how to buy users. Now, if we take this to podcast users, you don't have it. There is no clear podcast user acquisition that anybody here can say, okay, I can put media buying to user acquisition and get more people to listen to my podcast and monetize on it. There's no clear one.
You're right on that. I mean, I think that a lot of, there's been a lot of push to video. It's important to remember that video has been part of podcasting since it started. It's just on a new wave right now. But when we think about it, like social media, a lot of people have struggled with social media and other campaigns to drive to their RSS feed. You're in one app, pushing people into another app is hard. They're strolling through things, they're numbing their brain. They know they want to check it out, but how many people are going to click over? It was pretty much
they didn't know the info. They didn't have the data.
Exactly.
And we're there now.
But now what we're seeing in these scenarios is that when it's seamless, like between YouTube, between clips and long form in there, we're seeing massive conversion rates between that. And what that says to me is not that video works better. It says that app is set up better for user acquisition and makes it a lot easier.
Exactly. So it will be, I guess, cost per listen or cost per user. And if I take it like, again, I'm taking it to the gaming because it's similar evolution. So if I ask people when I go to agency, they're like, which games do you have? They're like, do you have Candy Crush? I'm like, no, I don't have Candy Crush, but I have this, this, and this. And they're like, we don't know this game developer. I show them the game. They're like, I love this game.
But that's a visual thing. And that's one of the things that I think is neat. And what I wanted to really point out here is that you can show them it.
And if you can show them on YouTube now too.
No, and you can, to a degree on that, on YouTube. If they choose to hit play and listen, right? It's not a screenshot and all that. When they ask, do you have Joe Rogan? It's like, well, no, we don't. We have all these other shows. If it's just audio, in that scenario, you're asking them to listen to it. And I got to be real. Everybody recommends a podcast to me. I would love to tell you that I listen to all of them. No. I listen to 4 podcasts that are exactly the same about 40-year-old dudes who don't have time to play video games. That's all I listen to. 4 unique podcasts about that. But the problem
is the deal.
But you can't send the link to that. But you can send a screenshot of the app. You can send you can send some of the video and catch that in there. And that is collateral. That's the ability to sell your show, who you are, for an audience, for your advertisers. It's enabling that.
Yeah, and I was going to say, I think for us as a network, right, we are having to bring our network to life to a certain extent. We bring logos on a slide, and then we'll get questions of like, well, what's the user experience, right? And then we'll have to go and actually create a video that shows our different apps and like what incorporates the DAX audience. We bring the Odeeo games to the table, show them a demo of the audio in the game, and it just helps resonate with them. But again, it's like, to your point, audio's on a slide, doesn't have any value. You have to show them the experience to kind of get the gist of it.
I went to Hot Pod Movement forever ago before it shut down, and I sent my wife this picture with me and two people, and I was like, I met your favorite podcasters, and she says, who are they? And I said it, and she's like, why would I know what they look like? Right? Like, and so
Very true.
Right.
Very
So
true.
with the logo, with the cover art, with the pictures, like these are the things that we're building on here. And so when people are pushing to video and pushing to other things, don't take it as abandoned audio. Like audio still has the most attention and the most value there, but that's so bought in. Give people the opportunity to give
them
you
the
1
tools.
minute.
Give them
Yeah.
the tools. And this, I was talking to creators here because I really want to understand, like, how do they do it today? And what I realized that a lot of them inviting other people that has a podcast, interview them, and then they promote basically cross promo.
You can tell he's not a podcaster because he can't keep the mic in front of
No,
him.
no, I can't.
Yeah, he's a gaming guy.
I do like this.
Gaming guy.
Anyway, at the end of the day, what I'm saying that initially the biggest buyers of gaming inventory was other games.
Yeah.
I'm saying now in podcast, they don't know how can you buy this.
But if we
So
measure
they-
that like ads, it would be the same.
Exactly. So there's a potential of huge budget out there.
How big's the ad market for games?
Games?
Well, games or apps?
In-app
Yeah.
advertising, $50 billion a year. In-app purchase, another $50 billion
Is that
a year.
global or U.S.?
It's global. US about 85% of it.
Yeah. So we're more. That's more than 5-6 times the global podcast.
It's like, think about it, like the biggest podcast out there, it's not even close. And I'm not talking about games like Candy Crush. There's a lot of games that people don't know their studios. There's like hundreds of millions of dollars a year. It's a huge industry.
Well, it's so funny to talk about how we're so early in it because it's 20 years into it for podcasting, and then radio's existed for a little bit, and we forget about streaming anytime we want to. But I think a lot of news has happened recently, and it's easy to skip over some things. But I hope people notice that nobody argued what Taylor Swift did on New Heights was a podcast. Right? Like it was a streamed YouTube video on
Correct.
YouTube, and everyone said Taylor Swift was on a podcast, right? When we get these wins, we have to celebrate them. We have to call them out as an industry because nobody's going to do it for us. They're moving on to the next thing that we're falling short on, and we have to justify ourselves there. But this is a great point here. Now people are open to podcasts. Now people are hearing it more. They're going to be more open to it. But there's one thing. I started in mobile app. And now in audio. And so my question to you guys is, how do you handle the pushback when someone says, like, I want Joe Rogan, I want New Heights, I want Candy Crush, I want Farmville, or whatever it is, and you say, I don't have it. Do they default still to thinking that it's junk? How do you defend that it's not? How do you show them that they're making bad judgment calls?
I wouldn't call it bad judgment calls. I think it's still, for us and where we fit in the market, it's about educating that's not the entire audience pool, right? I think we are a reach play, and by tapping into our network, I'm going to go back to the test and learn functionality, but just like we do with Spotify and Pandora, right? Spotify and Pandora absolutely have a place in the streaming side of the market, just like the big podcasts do, but that middle to long tail of the podcast community has immense value for advertisers because it's untapped potential for their listener base, right? So let's say like using the streaming audio landscape as a model, you look at Spotify, iHeart, and Pandora, they make up 55% of the ad-supported audio community. That's 45% of the audience you're not touching for consumers if you don't advertise outside of those three. Same thing goes for podcasting. So you have to go outside those big shows, and they have value, don't get me wrong. But I think it's really shown over the past year or two, as we talked about the growth of programmatic, that mid-tier creator has a valuable audience that's listening every single day or weekly whenever those podcasts drops. They're loyal, and they're going to trust any brand that is being read by that host. That's an engagement that podcast has outside of any other medium of that one-to-one listening experience where they trust everything that host is going to say in terms of committing to a brand.
So I 100% agree, and I will add, at the end of the day, what's the KPI? What are they trying to achieve? If someone comes to me, like I'm taking again to gaming, Candy Crush. First of all, Candy Crush, they don't have ads. They have only you have to buy stuff or rewarded video. This is not our thing. But what are you looking? You're looking at the end of the day to get same audience that are in Spotify, in podcast, who are playing games, and you want to tell them and promote your message. And you're building like holistic portfolio and strategy that will get you more reach. And you want to make it that, budget-wise will be efficient at the end of the day. So all of those audience extension channels like gaming and other emerging channels are basically allowing to, like you said, mid-tier creators or brands. They don't have the money to be in the biggest podcast out there. You want to be there? It's like so much money. So much money. So you can start and test and learn, because it's a different game. And the moment you start going by the data, which is things, in digital media we've been doing for 25 years, and now you have the ability to do so, you can make it. People do it with e-commerce, right? People do that with video and everything else. Why not with podcasts? Why not promoting your podcast that way,
Well, I also think just to go back to like the continuing to like evolve, the mid-tier community, like for me, the technology has become so advanced. We also need to make it easier for brands to be able to do host reads in the industry. Right now, we almost price them out for some of these top tier shows. It's like, unless you have a budget of $100,000 and a $50 CPM, we don't want your podcast dollars, and that's doing harm to the industry, in my opinion. I think
Creators.
Yeah, to the creators and for brands. Like, people want to learn and see if podcast does performs, but they think they want to be in these top shows, but telling them that there's another lookalike audience or a similar show to test out host reads and see how it works for them.
Hungrier.
Yeah,
that's going to bust their butt. That's going to record 4 versions of that ad and get it right for them.
Correct.
So by the way, nobody said there, so I'm going to say it. Nobody said AI, right?
Sure.
So let's talk about AI. So I think that the tool, we have to, it's like 10 minutes, nobody said it. So I think the tools out there literally like reduce the barrier. I want to make like 100 ads of my voice as a podcaster talking about whatever. I can do it today and paying $50 a month. I don't have to go to the studio and pay thousands of dollars. So the brands and agencies, they have to, because they have to maintain a reputation, and they're still looking into making sure it's the highest production. But the tools out there allow to mid-tiers and lower tier to really use those tools and try and promote themselves. And the same goes in gaming. The beginning, I think the biggest jump was when we can create multiple display ads and just optimize on those. So the same thing should happen.
It and
same thing should happen. And you have a few companies that are doing very well in this space. I really like it. Yeah.
I think the phase that we're in for podcasting right now feels like, instead of, I do think there's value in educating, and I think that the people who buy in and take advantage of it get their money's worth from this space. Like, I think it's still a buyer's market. But I think a big part of it is translation. I think a big part of it is, this year we're really looking at things and saying, like, awesome, we'd like you in audio. You can't use our unique pixel. You can't. We'll figure out whatever data you need, however you want to ingest it. We'll figure out how to make it work towards that, and we build it towards that. And that's how we're pulling these people in. Because you mentioned KPIs, and I laughed because I've been thinking about this a long time. I think the number one KPI for a buyer right now is keeping their job. And I think that in most situations, if you double your success on a new channel, you get a high five. If you blow $100,000, you get a pink slip.
Yeah, it's the concern of raising their hand to like make this initiative and try it. Because if it doesn't work, they're going to be in big trouble internally.
We don't have this option, by the way. It always works.
Yes, I know. But let's be real. And I think that's the challenge, is like the audio budgets have always been difficult internally at these holding companies. They're always fighting for streaming audio, over-the-air radio, or podcast dollars. And when they have them, they want to make sure they're going to players that they already know is going to perform, with other brands that have tested it. Because to your point, like right now, people are concerned and they don't want to be taking these leaps and trying something new. To your point, if it works, they're going to get a high five. But if not, it's going to be an uncomfortable conversation that they don't really want to have. You're going to get some buyers that will take the leap, and they're always looking to be innovative and trying new things. But in order to get it more widespread, you're going to need the...
So first of all, as an industry, if you look at the agencies, the big holdcos, I'm talking about gaming and audio. So the audio teams were there for multiple years. But in the last 5 years, they have gaming team. So if in the past I have to go in and no one's to talk to, basically, today they bring in people from the gaming industry which educate internally. So for us, it's a big step, you know.
And it's hard because a lot of people here are new to advertising or to media in different ways. But like, it's everybody on stage here is old enough to remember when search and social weren't considered serious platforms, and now it's non-negotiable.
Yeah.
And so I think the reason we picked the title was we decided to be a little shock jock on that, and I thought it would be fun. But the real thing that we want to get across to everybody is that the benefit today in podcasting is to be a whatever your audience, whatever your advertisers want you to be,
and where they are, and where your audience is.
Yeah,
I think it's
and
very
where they
important.
are.
Where are
Yeah.
they? They're everywhere.
Everywhere.
And you have multiple channels and data to support it. So I think it's very
Absolutely.
important. Yeah.
We got a few minutes left. Do we have any questions? If not, I'm really good at ending awkwardly early.
We good? Do you have a question?
We don't have the headphones on, though.
No, we'll
So,
hear.
so one of the things I'll acknowledge that I was just sitting here playing with as you all were talking is the verge of having an audio newsletter. And so really looking at audio, I'm a podcaster, and I'm not a gamer, nothing's wrong with that. But it's just really looking at how to take this, what you all said, and distill it down to what's really would be viable for me as a podcaster new to this space. It's like, to do an audio newsletter. And when I add audio to my newsletter, I have a 60% open rate.
That's nice.
But I was thinking,
So it's a newsletter and there's a play button.
there's a play button in
Okay.
the newsletter.
And so people open it more because they know there's
So-
the play.
Yes, and then I get a lot of feedback in my email, like, I'm so glad that you came back. I love that. And I'll do like 6 to 8 minutes of a particular topic. And it may be something more personal, but nothing that's market driven or industry driven, but just maybe the moment of where I am or the moment of what's happening,
Can they click in and then subscribe to that or follow it in a podcast?
They cannot. So that's the other feature that I'm looking at is layering it, in a way where there are the other
So,
features
yeah.
that they can click on.
But
and
ask
subscribe
them.
to.
And so I think what you're doing is this is
Amazing.
smart. It's exactly it. It's following the audience. But here's the thing that you need to with
Okay.
those things. Sometimes you'll drive them to that other space, and then they'll stop opening the newsletter. And so
Okay.
ask them and explore it and try it. But this is you learned something to get more engagement. You're still true to the content that you're creating. You're finding another area. You're experimenting.
Yeah. So what type of questions would I ask them to see, because I have
Do you like this in your newsletter app? Would
Okay.
you like it in a podcast
Oh.
app? Would you like it as a video? Would you be willing if I wanted to do longer form? Are you open to a Patreon? I've never seen someone put out a survey or put out something to fund something,
Yeah.
and someone being like, you know what? I'm done. Wild that they want to ask me if I'd consider supporting, right? Like that
Okay.
doesn't happen because your audience, they're either going to scroll by it and just consume it,
Yeah.
or they're going to engage with it, and now you have a bought-in community,
I love
and
that.
you sold them on yourself.
Thank you.
I just want you started by saying, I'm not a gamer, I'm a podcaster. So thank you for saying that. Because if I ask everyone here, it's a lot of people here, how many of you are gamers? So maybe 2 hands would be like this, right? But if I ask each of every one of you, how many games do you have on your mobile phone? Everybody has a game on their mobile phone, and the perception of a gamer changed dramatically in the last 10 years. That's why we opened this company. Everyone is a gamer today.
But that's a great point too, because we're at that point where podcaster is not like an insulting term. You know what I mean? SNL's chilled out on the skits about it, right? And so it's fun to look at these other mediums, and it's hard because a lot of us don't have that experience in the other spaces. But there's info about all of it, and you can learn about all the other spaces. A lot of the stuff we're doing here, you want to talk to someone who's done it over and over again. We got Rocky Thomas in the back right there. We've done it in audio, done it in video, done it in
OG.
everything. It's not new. A lot of it's not new. It's just our first time in it.
I think that's
That's awesome. Well, thank you for coming to the panel.
Oh, I said thank you for opening up the perspective.
Yeah.
Because I think that's part of why I'm here. Others might be here. It's like just getting a different perspective on how to be able to use this audio medium in a way that we can engage clients, like get ahead of them, as opposed to trying to catch up behind what's happened.
Cool.
Thank you for
But
joining
you're a
us.
super innovator. I love it. I love what you said. It was amazing.
I think we have one
It can
more,
be a company, by the way.
and then we'll hang out in the corner afterwards for anybody else.
All right. Hey, guys. Thank you so much. My name is Ike, founder and CEO of Jamit. We service an audience outside the U.S., and you said 85% of the advertising revenue comes really outside, comes from the U.S. And so we've been trying to figure out how do we get even to the ad agencies or even DAX companies like Global to be able to start servicing outside also, because that's the infrastructure that's been missing. pretty much Africa, Southeast Asia, where we service the most people. We have tens of thousands of people, creators on our platform, but the main thing is always how do we get infrastructure to bring advertisers on, or how do we help audio advertising grow here and there. And so that's what we've been trying to solve for so long, and obviously resources and trying to find those type of partnerships. What is the plan to extend? There are billions of more people outside, obviously, outside in the US. And I feel like, yes, even though there is the low income part of things, there's a population to make up for the money part. So I just wanted to ask if there was any strategy you guys have in plans.
Open the checkbook, Brian.
Yeah, I would say we can talk. Why don't we talk afterwards since we're at time? But let's chat.
The last thing I'll say on that is U.S. is boring. We got it. We understand it. We're striking out in certain areas. There's so much interest in global, but in the same thing that all these guys said here when they go in and they pitch a brand and how they have to get their attention and figure out over and over and over again, you have to do that 10 times as hard, and that sucks. And I want to say that to you. Like, I'm not a fan of that, but keep at it and just keep talking and keep coming and talking to all of these people here.
Cool.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Brian.